Hello guys and welcome to my Premier League predictions video. We're going to go through every single Premier League team and I'll let you know what I think their season's going to be like. Take it with a pinch of salt. If you're angry with any of the things I say, apologies. What we're going to do, we're going to spin this wheel and it's going to let us know which team we're going to start off with. I was going to go from the bottom to the top like usual. But I don't know, it's a bit of fun doing it this way. I've got all of my teams down here. We're going to construct our own table again over here and kind of see what happens. Now, I don't know if I'm going to change my mind about any of these teams, by the way. I've got them all written here. A couple of them I'm not too sure about. Like, there's a few where they could go either way, which is the exciting thing with this season, I guess. This season's going to be interesting. The first team we're going to get is Crystal Palace. It is Vieira's Crystal Palace. I'm looking forward to this one. They are a very interesting team, a very young team. Now, Crystal Palace had a really solid year last year. They came 12th in the Premier League, and they got to the semi-final of the FA Cup. I mean, that is very, very good. Like I said, it's a young team. They've got Zaha, who looks set to stay, which I think is key. I think that is very key to where I put them in this table. And the youngsters, they have another year under their belt now, so it's looking positive for him. Now, one thing that does let Palace down slightly is Gallagher leaving. Obviously, Zaha being kept is very key, but Gallagher leaving, he was a big part of them last season. Whether the guys in there now can do the job is yet to be seen, but I do think they're going to improve this season. I'm actually going to put them 10th in the table, so kind of bordering top half. I think they might just creep in this year, which, again, a very, very decent season for them. Okay, let's spin the wheel again. Which team are we going to get next? Let's have a look. It is going to be Leicester City. Leicester City. Now, obviously, Leicester had a bit of a topsy-turvy season last year, which you have to put a little bit to the injuries. Injuries for Vardy, Ndidi, etc, etc. They had many. They had too many. And it caused them, I mean, to have a poor season, let's put it right. It was a really bad season, especially as they'd been breaking into the top four for the past couple seasons and been around that area. They weren't really there last year. In fact, they managed to finish 8th last season, which, again, with the injuries, decent. That is very decent. They done very well in the Conference League. Obviously, didn't go to plan in the end, but again, they were in a lot of competitions with a lot of injuries. Now they're not going to be in Europe, and they're having these players come back. There's also no significant signings that they've had. Obviously, the Tielemans drama, whether he goes to Arsenal, he goes elsewhere, we will have to see what happens there. Obviously, if Tielemans does go, this may change where I put them slightly. But I do think they'll bounce back this year. I think Vardy goes under the radar of how many goals he actually does score. He scores very consistently 15 plus, even near the 20s every single season. I think he averages around 19 goals a season, which again goes under the radar way too much. For me, I think they may just creep into Europe again. Now, there's a lot of teams I could give this 7th spot to, but I do think Leicester are going to creep into Europe. I have that feeling that they could do well this season, especially, I don't know, a few people could be dropping down. A few people maybe just don't get there in the end, but it's definitely going to be tight. I don't think they just walk into Europe. I do think it's going to be tight. But we're going to throw Leicester City into the mix in 7th spot. Now let's spin the wheel. Which team are we going to get next? We're flying through these very slowly. We're going to get Fulham or West Ham? We're getting West Ham next. Another interesting team that we almost spoke about a minute ago. Now, West Ham had a weird season, a bit like Leicester. Few less injuries. They did have injuries, but a few less than Leicester. And they were doing really well last year. You thought maybe they got 6th the year before, maybe they could continue that. They ended up getting 7th place, which again wasn't too bad. But they lost 6 times in their last 11 games, which really just destroyed any hope of getting them at proper Europe spots last year, which I guess helped out teams like Man United, who was struggling last season. My main concern with West Ham is Whether they're going to strengthen enough, obviously Bowen's kind of looking a bit ropey, like he could leave. He may not, as I'm recording this. He's just been linked to a few clubs. Rice seems set to stay, which I think is very good for them. They brought in that defender, Aguedi. I'm pretty sure he's called the Moroccan defender, who I'm pretty sure has had an injury in pre-season, has undergone surgery, which went well, thankfully. But I don't know if that's going to set him back or not, but that's a bit of a blow for West Ham. I do think they're going to do well this season, though. I think the team is gelling. They haven't really got rid of any players I would think that would affect them massively, like Yarmolenko, for example. Players like that, like Frederick's leaving, they're not going to like hamper the team at all, really. I think they'll do well. I think they'll be solid this season. And you know what? If I was going to place them on this list, where would I place them? I actually think they're going to have a worse season, but not because they've been bad. I think one team is going to be better than them. I think Leicester's going to be better than them, and I think another team is going to be better than them. So I'm going to throw West Ham in at 9th place. Going to still be top half. I think it will be close. It may even come down to the last day, and it could be very, very close in terms of that last European spot, maybe even the last 2 European spots. I don't know yet. But yeah, I think that area is going to be feisty next season. It's going to be very interesting to see who comes up at top. I could be completely off with this, and I mean, they could either be amazing or dreadful and be bottom half, but you never know. Okay, let's spin the wheel again for the 4th time today. Are we going to get a different team that's not kind of mid-table? Fulham. Okay, that's an interesting team to talk about. One of the newly promoted teams. Now, Fulham, I originally thought Fulham, coming up to the Premier League, I thought they could be one of the teams that stay in the Premier League for at least another season. The more I've been looking at it, the more I've seen other teams building on what they had last season and what I've seen of Fulham, I think they're going to go down again. I'm sorry, Fulham fans. I think they're going to go down again. Obviously, I like Fulham. I would like them to stay up, but I don't think they have enough for the Premier League. Now, obviously, Mitrovic, on fire last season, broke the record, 43 goals. But the issue is they've just lost Carvalho, who's went to Liverpool. He got around 10 goals, 7 assists last season. He was influential, very creative in the midfield. I think that's really going to affect him. Not to mention, I think the players that they brought in, maybe they do add a little bit of quality, but really not enough for the Premier League, in my opinion. And their defence is a bit all over the place. I'm not a big fan of their defence. I think it looks like it's going to struggle against pretty much every single front line in the league, and we could see that. Now, I do think Mitrovic and Harry Wilson will still play a part in possibly having a good little run at some point. Maybe. I think Mitrovic will still score a fair few goals, a bit like Pukki did when Norwich went back down. I think he can do well still, but I just don't think he'll be enough to keep them up. So with Fulham, I'm going to throw them in 19th position. I don't think they'll be rock bottom, but I do think they'll struggle to get out of the relegation zone. Okay, and we spin the wheel again, and who's it going to be? It is going to be Nottingham Forest. Okay, so we go from one promoted team to another promoted team. Now, Nottingham Forest are a very, very interesting side. Now, I was very happy when Forest came up. It's a fresh kind of team that I haven't seen in the division for such a long time. And you know what? When they first came up, I wasn't too sure how well they do. I didn't know if they'd stay up. My mind has completely U-turned, and I genuinely think they will stay up and have a solid season. Now, not only did they do really well at the latter stages of last year, obviously they piled up the table. It was pretty phenomenal. They had like around 4 players on loan who done bits for them. One of them being Jed Spence, who has now went back to Middlesbrough and now went to Spurs. He was a big part of that, and a lot of their players were. They were a really solid team for pretty much the whole season, and deserved to go up, in my opinion. And this season, after the 4 loanees have left the club, you'd think, oh god, they're going to be in a nightmare scenario here, with like no depth. We're going to have a weird World Cup in the middle. What's going to happen? They've brought in around 12 signings so far, as I'm recording this currently, which is insane, and all of them will play a part in it, I'm sure. Like even like if it's from the bench, there's a lot of good players there. Now, Jed Spence has left, one of the big parts of last season for him. and they brought in Nico Williams, a very, very good signing. A really solid signing for Forest. I think he'll get some good game time, good experience under his belt. Still very young, but I think that is a perfect replacement for an already young right back. Now, they've also brought in a bit of experience and quality in Lingard on a free. It's a very weird signing, and I'm pretty sure they probably fended off a few other clubs. Maybe West Ham was in for him, maybe he wasn't, I don't know. But they've done really well to sign Lingard. He's going to be a big part of their season. And genuinely, I think they're going to have a bit of a Brentford year where they're very excited to be back in the league. The fans are going to be right behind them the entire way. It's going to be a nightmare travelling away from home to their ground. I think they're going to pick up some very, very good points and maybe a few wins against bigger teams that you wouldn't be expecting. Obviously, they beat Arsenal in the Cup last year. I have to remind myself of that. But that on top of keeping players like Brennan Johnson, who scored around 16 goals, around 10 assists last year, I think that's going to be huge for him. And Brennan Johnson could have a really good season, actually. So this would be one of my bolder predictions of the day. And whether you agree with me or not, fair enough. But this is going to be kind of a bit out there. A lot of people, I think, would put them around 16th, 17th. I actually think they're going to finish around where Brentford finished last season. I think they're going to finish 13th. I'm putting it out there now. This could go horribly wrong. They might just completely collapse under the pressure of the Premier League. But I'm going to go for it. Now on to the next team. Who are we going to get? Obviously, I've already probably annoyed someone with that prediction. Apologies. It's going to be Everton, and I'm probably going to annoy more people with this selection. Now, Everton last year could have very easily got relegated, I'll be real. They were terrible. They were really, really bad last season. No cohesion in the team. No one really wanted to score. Richarlison would be the one scoring. This season, he's left. Their main player, their main scorer has left. They're going to heavily now rely on Calvert-Lewin getting some goals. They'll want Gordon performing. If Calvert-Lewin gets injured, this could go horribly wrong for them. I do think they'll be somewhat more comfortable than last year. Not by much, though. Possibly even finishing around where they finished last season, but maybe just the teams below them will have far less quality than Everton for them to be kind of nervous. My main concern with Everton is the lack of depth that they have in attack. Like, they brought in Tarkowski, which I think is a solid signing, Premier League proven. He will do well for them, but that's the only signing that they've got so far. They've let Richarlison go, which I think is a huge loss for him. He had to go realistically. He couldn't have stayed there after they finished 16th last season. But unless they bring another quality striker or winger in, I don't know where their goals are coming from. Calvert-Lewin can only do so much. Gray, I don't think, will have a crazy exciting season. It could be a bit of a mess season for Everton, and they might have to rebuild maybe in January if they're not getting the business done now. But they need to do some work. They need a lot of work to be done in this Everton team. And honestly, they could be in the running for going down. It just depends, really, who's the worst at the bottom. If there's a few teams that are worse than them, they'll be fine. But if a few of the teams at the bottom, like Fulham and others that I'll get into, then maybe they'll struggle. Where Fulham are starting to get points over Everton, and Everton are struggling to keep up with anyone above them. It could be a tough and long season for Everton, but we will see. They will be going straight where they finished last season, and that is in 16th place. Now let's spin the wheel. Which team are we going to get next? I like spinning the wheel. It just mixes it up a little bit, doesn't it? Bournemouth are going to be the next team. So we went through all of the promoted teams so far. Bournemouth is the next one. Now Bournemouth. What you doing? I think they're going to really struggle next season. Definitely, to me, are looking the weakest team in the league. Even Solanke last season, I think he got around 29 goals. And I think he can still score a lot of goals this season. A bit like Mitrovic. I think he can score a lot this season, but I don't think that's going to be enough to save Bournemouth. if you look at their entire team, just right in front of you, the team sheet, it's not a Premier League team. I'll be real, it's not a Premier League team. They might pull off the odd shock result. I don't know. I don't see them being a threat to any team in the league, bar the ones that have been promoted, really. I just think they're going to struggle. Now, I can't go into loads of detail. I haven't watched loads of Bournemouth over the past couple years in the Championship, but I'm seeing the signings they're bringing in, Fredericks and Rothwell from Blackburn, and to me that just screams we're in the Championship. No offense to them players, top players still, but they're more Championship based. They haven't properly had a run in the Premier League. Fredericks a bit more so, Rothwell not. I just don't think it's going to be enough to compete with teams like Forest, who are coming into the league, spending a lot of money, investing in a lot of players for depth, for different positions, and really improving. I just don't think Bournemouth have improved enough for me, and I think they're really going to struggle. And I'm sorry, Bournemouth fans, but I'm going to have to put you rock bottom. Saddens me to do it. I don't like predicting people to go down, but yeah, it has to happen to someone. And I think two of the newly promoted teams are going to go down again. Now, the next team is going to be Aston Villa. Aston Villa are an interesting team. Now, last season, obviously, a bit ropey, actually. They signed a lot of very, very quality players. They've got a lot of very good individuals. Like, if you look at their team sheet, it's a really good team on paper. But I just don't think they have the cohesion in the team, and they don't have... I don't know if it's the tactics, but it seemed like last season, a lot of the time, none of the players are on the same page. They all were doing their own thing, and if it worked great. If it didn't, oh god, there's no chance there. And a bit of proof from that is they lost around 19 points, I believe, from winning positions last season, which that kind of just shows you they can start a game, just run at players, individual quality. They can just run at players and get a couple goals and be like, okay, we've got this in the bag. They'll sit back, not much structure, not much thought into the team as a whole, and then they'll just concede a few goals and then lose or draw it. And I think that is the main factor at why I don't think they're going to be a top half team next year, which is kind of mad when they've got players like Coutinho in the team. You'd think they're going to be pushing for, I don't know, Europe at least. I don't know. I think there's still a lot of work. I haven't really seen them much over pre-season, so I don't know if they've been popping off. I don't know all of that jazz. Obviously, if I went through every single team's pre-season, it could be slightly different. It could influence me a little bit more. But I'm going straight off last season, transfers brought in, trying to work something out here. Now, obviously, Villa finished 14th last season. Again, I thought they were going to finish higher, like mid-season. I thought they were going to push on. And then they really, really dropped off. I actually think they're going to do better this season, though. So, like, if you are a Villa fan out there and you're worried, oh, God, he's going to put us 15th or something. I'm not. I don't think you're going to get top half. But I think you're going to be very close. And I think you're going to be in that conversation of maybe even sneaking into that last European spot. I think Villa, Palace, West Ham, Leicester, I think you can probably assume who I have in 8th. I think they're all going to be fighting amongst the pack to get that last European spot. Villa, I don't think will get there. I think they're going to finish just below these other teams. But I think they are going to have a solid season. A few good results. Now we're spinning the wheel again for the next one. We don't have any big 6 teams, and we still don't. It's Man United. I'm joking. Man United. Now, where do we start with them? United's position at the moment is a nightmare to predict. I don't know if Ronaldo's staying. I don't know if he does stay. Will they be better for that? If he does stay, they're going to be worse from that. I don't know if he leaves, they're going to be worse from that, etc., etc. I don't know what scenario works best for them, which is the issue. They've signed some good players, Lisandro Martinez being one of them, Malacia another one, and I think they're going for De Jong at the moment. They've obviously brought Eriksen in, I believe. I don't even know if that's been fully announced yet, but it's kind of like a given that he has joined them. Some good little signings. Is it enough? I don't know. Obviously, Pogba's left now. There's a few other players who look like they could be leaving. And realistically, it's whether Ten Hag is the man for the job. We haven't seen enough from him at all yet. Obviously, he just joined at the end of last season. Whether he can form an actual team out of these players is another thing. So I don't know whether they're going to storm it, finish in the top 4 fairly easily. I mean, obviously in pre-season I've seen a little bit of them. I've seen they've beaten Liverpool 4-0. Very disjointed Liverpool team, bit disjointed United team as well, but it was a bit of a higgledy-piggledy game. It was like a few weeks back, so don't know how much we can really get from that. But they could do alright. But I don't think they're going to be as good as some of these other teams. One thing that they really have to get better at is their away performances. They lost their last 6 last year. That is terrible for United as well. That is really, really bad. Honestly, I think surely they improve on that. But I don't think position-wise in the league they really improve. Possibly sneaking 5th. I just don't see them being better than these other teams. This is going to be a key season, whether Ronaldo stays or goes, whether Fernandes has to step up, whether Martial has to step up, whether Rashford has to step up. So this could really, really change things, and there's still a little bit of the window left. Obviously, it goes into the season a little bit, but the season starts next week, so I'm going to do this now. But I do believe they'll easily get Europe. I think I'm feeling 6th place for Man United. Now, I think that's going to annoy a few people. Maybe you think I'm being harsh, but I have to base it off of last year as well. I think last year it was just going down. The whole way it was just going down. Players like Maguire, I think, are given way too much freedom to do what they want there. I think Ronaldo actually doing well and then fans getting annoyed at Ronaldo being there it's a whole thing. Yeah, we'll have to see how that goes. But I'm going to put him in 6th place just because I have, I think, better reasoning for the people above him at the moment. And obviously, this is just my predictions at the end of the day. Okay, we're landing on Liverpool for the next one. We're getting through these teams now. Liverpool are very, very interesting this year. Now, obviously, the big news in Liverpool with Mane leaving. Crazy. Imagine Salah did as well. He signed a new contract. Liverpool fans probably thanking the gods for that one, because if he left as well, I think they'd really struggle. I think they are going to struggle with Mane being gone. Not as much as some people may think, but I do think they will struggle a fair bit in terms of title deciding. Now, obviously, Liverpool came close to the quad last season. Exceptional season, honestly. And if they got that, go down in history. But they didn't. They missed out in the end. They couldn't get the Premier League either, and City ended up victorious. Mane left, and then they've signed Darwin Núñez. Diaz obviously came in during January. Done really, really well for them. I think he'll be one of their main players, a very key player next year. And I think it's going to be interesting who Klopp kind of favours in that front 3 now. So it'll be Salah, then will it be like Jota, or will it be Núñez in the middle, and then Diaz on the left, or I don't know. I'm interested to see who gets the most games out of that lot. It's a difficult one for fantasy football, that as well. Like, I don't know if Núñez is going to play a lot of games, or Diaz is going to play a lot of games, or they're going to play the same amount. I don't know. Let me know if you're a Liverpool fan. Let me know what you think their front 3 is going to look like, because it could differ. It could very, very easily differ. You got Firmino as well. Keep forgetting him. Now, one of my issues with Liverpool going into this season, I don't think they're going to struggle, but I think Klopp, I feel like, I don't know if he just can't decide, but I think he struggles to balance the midfield. Now, I might be completely left field here, but I just don't think the players he's got all kind of work. Like, I don't think he's got a set 3, and I know that kind of works for what Liverpool do as well. They'll switch in Henderson, Milner now and again with the likes of Thiago, but I just don't see a consistent midfield going forward that will just constantly be balanced. Now, bringing Carvalho in, I don't know if he's going to drop back into there as well and kind of be in the mixer. it's going to be an interesting season for Liverpool. It could go one or two ways. They could either really gel. Nunez can just be on fire. Him and Salah. Salah and Mane used to pass to each other all the time. Salah doesn't really have to do that now. He'll be more selfish, I think. I think he'll try and score more goals to prove I'm the main guy. Mane's gone. I'm the main guy now. So I think Salah could really do well this season. Now Nunez, we get to know he had a poor little start in pre-season in the first game or so, and then he scored 4 goals against Leipzig in the next game. So I really don't know what to expect there. Could be brilliant for him, could not be, we don't know yet. But he'll probably be good. Nunez looks a solid player. I think in terms of next season, I wouldn't have them as being the champions. I think that the main big thing with Liverpool. I don't know in this prediction. I think with Mane coming out, I think that really, really affects the attack. Not to say they won't score a lot of goals. I think they still will. It's just being able to restructure it to a way of playing with Nunez instead of kind of a false 9. Same could be said about City, which we'll get onto later. But I do think they're going to take a little bit of time to gel these new players in. And it will be a different feel to the team. So I will put them second. I don't think you can get them out of the top 2, in my opinion. Some people I've seen drop them third, fourth, which I don't think they'll be that bad. Okay, we've spanned the wheel for the next one, and who is it going to be? Is it going to be Man City? It's going to be Man City. And that brings me on to who I think will probably top the league this year. I just think they brought in Haaland, they brought in Phillips. Sure, they've let Sterling go, they've let Zinchenko go, they've let Jesus go, they've let some big players who were key last season for them in certain areas go, and I think that is going to be interesting to see what Pep does. Again, similar to Liverpool, I think they're going to have to all try a new system out. Haaland is a very, very different striker. Obviously, they're used to playing just balls into the box and midfielders running onto him. This time it's a bit more like pass to Haaland, which De Bruyne can probably do, which is kind of why I'm putting him top. I think Haaland, if he hits the ground running, I think he's going to cause chaos in the league. I genuinely think he's a superb striker. I think he's an incredible investment as well. He's one of them players I don't want to flop. I want to see him in the flesh be amazing and just tear up the league. Not against Arsenal, ideally, please, Erling Haaland. Thank you very much. But I do think he could be incredible. I can't see him flopping, but obviously you never know when they come from German league. I mean, any other league that's not in England. You never know how they're going to hit the ground. He could be incredible. We will see. I'm struggling to find too many faults other than a tactical change though in the City side. I think that's why it's so hard to go against them winning the league again. Bringing in Phillips to play alongside Rodri, you can't get better defensive cover than that, really. It's incredible, and I think they're going to control a lot of games like that. With De Bruyne in front of them, you have Bernardo Silva, Gundogan. It's gonna be interesting. It will definitely be interesting. Whether they bring anyone else in, I don't know. I think it will be a good year for Grealish as well. I think he has to really step up. I mean, last year I think he struggled not being the main guy like he was at Villa. I think he's going to get used to it. He's going to get on the ball more assists, more goals. I think they'll have a very solid year, and I genuinely could see them running away with the league if Haaland hits the ground running. I think everyone else is going to really struggle to catch him up. Okay, and if we spin the wheel again, who are we going to get? It's going to be Newcastle for the next one. Now, I'd be interested to hear what Newcastle fans are thinking about their summer transfers so far. I actually think they've been very solid, actually. They haven't broken the bank. They haven't went crazy and just signed Neymar. And they're looking to win the league this year. They're going to get into proper Europe. They're going to get into Champions League. They're calmly, gradually building a very solid team. The introduction of Botman, I think, is a really, really nice addition. Not to mention as well, last season, how well Joe Linton started performing. I think he's going to be their key player this year, actually, alongside players like Guillermoz, who I think will really kick on, have a very, very good season. But yeah, I'd be interested to see if they do sign any more players in this window. Possibly a couple more. I haven't looked properly at the rumoured players. Newcastle fans, you'd probably know more than me about who you might be looking at. But I do think you're going to have a very, very, very solid season next year, and I think you're going to improve on your 11th place finish, and I would personally put you at 8th place again. I can't say that much more, but I'm a big fan of Eddie Howe, and I think he's getting a group of players that he actually likes and I think will do well. So yeah, big season ahead for Newcastle, and they'll want to get Conference League football. I think that'll be a big statement if they can get into Europe next year. So they'll definitely be around there fighting until the last minute, I'm sure. Now let's spin the wheel for the next one. We're running out of teams here. Is it going to be Arsenal? It is going to be Brentford. Okay. We're keeping the top 4 race kind of on right now. Now with Brentford, I think they are going to be fine. I'll just leave it at that, shall I? I think they're going to be fine. I think they're going to finish probably around where they finished last season. Nothing crazy to say about them. They brought in Hickey. I think Hickey's a superb signing. I think he's going to be brilliant at a fullback position for him. Obviously coming from Bologna. They still got their core squad, which I think is quite important. Now they came up with a very tight-knit squad. They've kept hold of a lot of them players, which I think is crucial for them to continue their success. They done really well last season, especially as a newly promoted side. Ivan Toney will continue to score goals, get on the penalties. He'll just be trotting along, just picking up the odd goal here and there and winning them games. I think it'll be a big season for Mbeumo. I say his name badly all the time. I think it'll be a big season for him. I think he could even outshine Toney. Could outshine Toney. I don't know. I think the loss of Eriksen kind of means he does have to step up. Like Eriksen was really, really good for him last season when he joined, and I think they're gonna want to try and replace that aura about Eriksen. They'll want to replace that and get more assists and goals through another avenue. So yeah, I'll be intrigued to see how Brentford do. But for me, we'll jump straight to this. I genuinely think they'll finish 14th next season. So I'm going to throw them in here. Slightly, one position less than last season. But again, I kind of think Forest are going to have that crazy bounce. Brentford might have the second season syndrome and that could mess them up. I don't know. But yeah, Brentford, I think you'll be fine next season. As long as like everything goes to plan, you don't pick up major injuries or anything. I think you'll be okay. Okay, we're with the dregs here, and we're getting Brighton for the next one. Okay, Brighton. Now, Brighton were another one of them teams who had a bit of a weird season last year. Obviously, Basuma leaving, I think, really, really affects them. They finished 9th last season. I don't think they're going to make the top half, but where I've put them, I still feel like they're too high, which I think's mental. But, like, I don't know, in my head, maybe they could finish lower. I don't know. I had to bring them down a level as I was like making it. This is the issue. So I've literally put next to them on my bit of paper, could finish lower. Could finish lower than when I'm going to put them. I'll show you in a minute where I'm going to put them. But I think it's very interesting. I think my reasoning behind they could finish lower where I'm going to put them. You know what? Let me quickly show you where I'm going to put them so this makes more sense. But I'm going to put them in 12th spot. Now, obviously, they finished in 9th last season. I don't think they're going to do as well as that, if I'm perfectly honest. I think Brighton, losing Basuma, I think is massive. If they lose Cucurella, arguably like their player of the season last year, if they lose him to Man City, again, Man City will be really unbeatable then. I think they're going to really struggle. And I'm also hearing today, Mopai, like there's been interest in Syria for Mopai. So if Mopai leaves, if Cucurella leaves, this changes right here. I'm kind of putting them in 12th, assuming Cucurella is leaving. If Mopai leaves, they could be down 14th, 15th, if I'm honest. And they really could struggle. Now, I mean, looking back at last season, they were the 4th highest in possession, which I think says a lot about the kind of team they are. They are very possession based, quite a safe team. I don't know if that's going to be a bit down to Bissouma as well, because Bissouma bossed a lot of games in midfield. Him not being there, will they struggle? Possibly. I just think it's going to be a bit of a ropey season for Brighton. I don't know if Cucurella does leave. They're going to really hope Mopai stays, because if he leaves, I really do think they're in trouble unless they bring in adequate replacements very, very quickly. Not much pre-season left, about a week, so they got to be quick. But yeah, I do think Brighton are going to struggle, so that's why I put them at 12th. Apologies, Brighton fans. Could be a rough one. Okay, the next team we're going to get is Wolves, I believe, or is it Chelsea? Oh, it's Chelsea. Hello Chelsea. Now, I have a feeling this is another one of my predictions that might frustrate a few fans out there. Chelsea, they're a bit of a mess, if I'm being completely honest. I think Tuchel is a bit of a mess. I think the team is a bit of a mess. They don't really know what they're meant to be doing. Now, kind of last season, I thought their defence is very solid. They brought in Lukaku. I thought, wow, okay, they're meaning business now. They might do really well in attack as well. Didn't work out. Really struggled, actually. Defensively, they were very sound. Now they've lost a fair few players. This is the issue. Rudiger's gone. Christensen's gone. It looks like Alonso might be leaving. Azpilicueta might be leaving. They brought in Koulibaly, who I think is an excellent signing. Again, he might play with Chalobah. He might play with Thiago Silva. They like playing a back three at Chelsea. I don't know. Is it going to be enough? Maybe. We will see. Koulibaly will be a solid signing if he can stay fit. I know he's had a couple little injuries, I think. But looking pre-season wise, Chelsea have really been struggling. And not to say pre-season really determines much. Now, obviously, it was the other evening in Orlando. Arsenal versus Chelsea was played as a pre-season cup competition. And it was 4-0 to Arsenal. Very, very, very convincing. And Chelsea they're all over the place. Sterling was playing. Koulibaly came on for a little bit. He wasn't too bad, actually, when he came on. But Sterling, I mean, Ben White was marking him out of the game. And I just think Sterling works better when there is a main striker up there, or there's a lot of threat in the box, which I don't think Chelsea currently have. I think they're going to rely heavily on Havertz next season, who I just don't see as being clinical enough to really propel them to the next level. And where they finished third last season, I genuinely think they can't do that again. Now, again, if they do sign another couple players, that could push them back up there. But at the moment, I don't know if they have enough. Obviously, Mount, he needs a big season. There's a few players who need a big season at Chelsea. Obviously, Ziyech as well. You've got Werner. Werner, I don't know what he's up to, but yes, it's going to be a weird season for Chelsea, and this was a really difficult call for me, because how could you not put them in the top four after they've consistently been getting like third place? I'm going to do it now. So this is probably where I might get some hate, but I'm going to put Chelsea at 5th. I think they may just miss out, and this might just be just my mind and my heart talking, but I think they're a bit too over the place right at this second, where they could start the season really badly, and it could be one of them seasons where if you start really badly, then first few games are going to be massive. Now, they play Spurs on their second game of the season, I'm pretty sure. Spurs seem in a much better, a lot more confident, a lot more cohesive team to play against at the moment than Chelsea. And I think if Chelsea come like they did the other day, which again, that was pretty much their first team against our first team, I think they'll really struggle against Tottenham. And I think they could have a ropey little start, a bit like Arsenal last season. And that could be detrimental for them. Again, it's going to be interesting how this one shapes out. Chelsea could just blow us all away, and Havertz could have the best season of his life, and they could finish second or third or something. I don't know. But in my opinion, right at this second, with the signings they've made, with the outgoings they've had, I think they've weakened more than they've strengthened currently. And I think it's a bit of a weird situation. I think they're kind of spending money. Like, the new owners came in, he's spending money on big name signings like Sterling and Koulibaly, as opposed to really thinking about the exact player profiles that they're after. I think Koulibaly's great. I think Sterling was a bit of a weird rogue shout. I don't know how well he'll do there, but again, he could be solid. But yeah, I just think 5th place, Chelsea, it's going to be very close and they might sneak into top 4, but honestly, I found it very hard to call. Okay, the last 5 teams, this might be a long video, apologies, we'll see how long this is. It's going to be Wolves, man, we've got Arsenal and Spurs in here, God. Now, I'll be real, I'm going to be quick with Wolves. They had a bit of a ropey season last year, like I've said about a fair few teams actually. It was a bit of a weird year last year. It's going to be a weirder year this year with the World Cup in the middle. Jimenez was their top scorer, and Jimenez scored, 6 goals or something? It's going to be ropes for them. They were the lowest scoring team in the entire league, even less than teams like Norwich, who really struggled last year. I think that says a lot. They lack that bite up front, pardon the pun, with Wolves. But they lack that bite up front, which I think could really, really let them down. They've let go of a few players like Says and Marcel, and I don't know where it's all going to kind of come from, and I think they're going to have a bit of a weird season, and I think they will be down the bottom. I'm just going to throw them in at 15th for now. They are genuinely, I think 15th is being kind. I think Wolves could genuinely struggle a lot here and could even get relegated if they're not careful, because I just don't see them performing at the level of a lot of these other teams. Now we got Arsenal, Southampton, Tottenham, Leeds left, and it is going to be Leeds for the next one. Now Leeds United, oh god. Where do I start with Leeds? They lost Rafinha. They've lost Phillips. I think they could be struggling this season, guys. Now, Leeds fans out there, I know you've definitely reinvested into the squad. You brought players in, Tyler Adams being one of them, Rocco another one. There's been solid signings, which I do think will help the team. But if I'm being completely honest, I don't think the first 11 will be good enough to do well in the league next year. I think Rafinha going, you're losing pretty much all your goals. You're relying very, very heavily on Bamford and Rodrigo, who I don't think... I mean, they could do well, maybe given the chance and the run of games, they could do well. Bamford and Rodrigo could also pick up an injury. Then who's kind of next? Dan James, maybe. It could be a struggle there. Phillips, I just think, controlled so much in the midfield for Leeds. Whether the replacements can gel in time, I don't know. They might do well. Honestly, it depends how long it takes them to bed in, because a lot of these players that come from abroad do take a while to bed into these teams, especially teams like Leeds, which have always played a bit of a weird game. I think since Bielsa has left, all the players that were at Leeds are a bit all over the place. They kind of don't know, like, oh, we were meant to be doing this, now we have to do this thing instead. I think the tactics are all kind of scrambled in the players' heads. The new boys will come in. There's a lot of new boys as well. I think they're going to be learning the other bits that they haven't learned from Bielsa before. So they might be more on Jesse March's side, and then the older boys might be a bit more against them, and there might be a bit of friction there, maybe. There might be a bit of, like, misreading situations in games. I don't know, but I think Leeds could struggle this season unless maybe a few of their big signings do actually work. Then fair enough, but I just don't see them doing well at all. I mean, for me, this was another very, very tight call, but I'm sorry, Leeds fans. I think it could be you that go down, if I'm honest. I think Leeds could be the team that do just about creep into that relegation zone, which I think is a bit harsh. I think there's a few teams which I could also put there, but I think Rafinha and Phillips is massive. That's like the two biggest players leaving the club. I think is just too big. We're spinning the wheel again. It's gonna be Tottenham. Finally, we are on Tottenham. Now, Tottenham, obviously, I don't like talking like, oh, Tottenham, they're doing great. But they are doing great. They've done some really good business in this window. I think Basuma, Richarlison, Perisic, Jed Spence, these kind of players I think are going to really add to the team. I think they're going to have a good year. I think Conte's now worked with the team enough to really get something out of these players. I guess it depends if a couple of them do end up leaving. There's a couple slight unsettled people there, but that might not happen, so I'm not going to talk about that. I'll be interested to see how the Kane-Richarlison roles really work here. Obviously, Kane is going to play every game. Richarlison will not, probably. He won't play nearly as many as he did at Everton, which maybe he needs that run of games to really get going. So maybe bringing him in now and again won't be as good. But again, he's a quality player. He'll probably be fine. I think the team as a whole does seem a lot more balanced than it used to, and I think the players they're bringing in have been better player profiles than previous seasons. And it's spurred teams like Arsenal I think, to spend a bit more in the window and really, really go in as quickly as possible. One downside, I guess, would be like maybe Romero. He seems to be a little bit injury prone at the moment. He seems to be... I don't know. I think he's a really solid defender. Spurs fans I know love him. But he seems to be injured a lot at the moment, which I don't know. It could be a concern for next season, because I don't think the replacements are as adequate as other positions. I think the big thing for me is, can they break teams down that have a really low block and sit back? Now, they've been great against teams like City and Liverpool last season because they come at them. But teams that are sitting back, your Brightons, etc., I think they need to work out how to beat them. If they work out how to beat them, they'll do really well this season, I think. And annoyingly, if I'm going to this, I would have to put them in third place. I think they've strengthened in all the best positions, and I just think they probably should have a good season. Okay, and now we've got the big one. We've got the Southampton or Arsenal. I wonder where they're going to go. It's going to be Arsenal for the next and the penultimate. Now, obviously, I follow Arsenal a lot. I'm an Arsenal fan, so a little bit of bias maybe where I'm putting them in the league. But I do think they've been very solid, if I'm honest. I think the transfers that we brought in, Jesus, Zinchenko, Fabio Vieira, I think he looks like he could be good. We haven't seen him yet because he picked up a little knock in his ankle. Classic Arsenal. As soon as the player comes in, picking up a little knock here and there. Obviously, William Saliba coming back into the frame after winning Young Player of the Season in the French League last year. I think that is a huge addition. I think if we can keep a few of these players fit, I think we're looking at a very, very solid season. Nothing groundbreaking, I don't think we get top four comfortably, which is, I mean, obviously you would have seen before. They will be slotting in at fourth spot here, which, again, maybe you can disagree with me there. I know most pundits, most tipsters, most opinion-based channels will probably not put Arsenal top four. And honestly, I would agree a lot of the time. But when I genuinely looked at all of the figures, all of the signings, all of the form that teams have been in at the latter end of last season, I couldn't not put them there. Especially, I think with the game against Chelsea the other day, is pre-season, but you can tell what a team is gonna be like mentality-wise, even in pre-season. And the game against Chelsea, Jesus, honestly, could be a bargain, could be one of the signs of the season if he continues the pre-season form into the actual Premier League season. He has been incredible so far. I think Martin Odegaard could have an incredible season playing alongside Jesus, Saka, Martinelli. It's a very, very young squad. I think Arteta's learning on the job, and he's learning quickly, and he's getting to a stage where I think he knows what to do now. He knows certain tactics, certain teams, which I don't think he knew when he first joined us. And yeah, I can see Arsenal doing well this season. And again, I guess it depends as well. If Chelsea strengthen a bit more, Man United strengthen a bit more, and Arsenal don't, then I could easily see them dropping out of it, going to 6th place or something, even 7th, and then focus on Europa League. But on the other hand, like, they could both strengthen, and then if Arsenal bring in players that they've been linked with, like Tielemans. They've been linked to other wingers like Cody Gakpo. There's a lot of options. They're still looking at a couple players, I'm pretty sure. I've heard from Arteta and Edu. So if they strengthen even more than they already have, if they nail down contracts with current players like Saliba, like Saka, I think the morale around the ground, around the fans, will be too much for a lot of teams, especially when we play at home. I do think we'd have a good season. So I'm putting them there, a little bit of bias, but I think they just creep in for me. And trust me, it might be a bit of bias, but I've still put Spurs above us, so I mean, it still sucks. Now, last but not least, we have Southampton. And Southampton, in my opinion, I mean, you've probably seen from the league table that I've got now. Honestly, they're one of the teams that I just don't get excited by. I'll be completely real. If you ask anyone, pretty much most people, who's your favourite Southampton player that's not a Southampton fan, Ward-Prowse. That's realistically, I mean, they've got a very, very average squad in terms of Premier League. Like, it's always comfortably just about staying up. They're fine, bit of mid-table. Obviously, they finished 15th last season, a bit of the lower spectrum. I don't think they're going to get relegated this season, but I think they will be in the mix. I genuinely think they will be in the mix. But saying that, they have made a couple good signings. They signed Bazuna, 20-year-old from Portsmouth. He I think he was their player of the season last year as well, and played very well for them. I think that's a really good keeper to get in. So that definitely strengthens them. And having a good shot stopper is crucial. Like, for them lower teams especially, that could save you from getting relegated. That could save you a few points here and there. So I think that's going to be a really big addition. And I hope to see him play a fair few games, because I think he has been decent in the games at Portsmouth. But my main concern isn't at home, really. It's away from home. They won a whole 4 games away from home last season. Out of 31 games, 4 games they won away from home. Like, that is relegation form, and that's why I think they'll be down the bottom. So guys, this is my completed predicted table for the 2022-23 season. If you agree, let me know. If you don't agree, let me know. Leave a like if you've enjoyed, and leave a like if you haven't as well, because I appreciate it. So I think it's going to go City, Liverpool, Tottenham, Arsenal, Chelsea, United, Leicester, Newcastle, West Ham, Palace, Villa, Brighton, Nottingham Forest, Brentford, Wolves, Everton, Southampton, then Leeds, Fulham, Bournemouth. I think that is essentially what could happen. We'll come back to this at the end of the season and have a little look at how it's doing. I could be way off. I might have banged it. You never know. Thank you very much for watching, guys. I know this has been a very different video than I've done before, but I want to do more stuff like this and more analysis of certain games, certain teams as we go forward. So yeah, let me know if you've enjoyed this, and I'll be back very soon for another one. See you later.